All right, shalom again. Let me speak to you before we start up, read the text again. Well, we only have a small amount of text left to read. But what we're going to do is we're going to read this text, then we're going to read a statement by Martin. Then we're going to look at pictures. And we're going to start to put all this together, and you'll be able to see that what he's saying is actually an impossibility. Okay, so we're going to continue on. We're going through every reference in Josephus up to a point. Before we finish, we'll completely cover every reference to the Antonia that is found anywhere here in Josephus. But we'll continue on. So the next reference is going to be where Titus is giving his speech to his troops. And I'm going to pick it up in the middle of his text. It's going to be in Book 6, paragraph 45. And it tells us, yes, Antonia, what's mounted in the city is ours. For even if, and I do not expect it, any further battle awaits us within these, awaits us with those within. Your position over their heads commanding the very air. Your enemies breathe would ensure a complete and speedy victory. Now we're going to go forward to 68, Book 6, paragraph 68. And we have 2 days later, 20 of the guards on outpost duty at the earthworks came together and enlisting the services of the standard bearer of the 5th Legion, 2 troopers from the squadrons, and a trumpeter at the 9th hour of the night advanced noiselessly over the ruins toward Antonia. The first sentinels whom they encountered, they cut down in their sleep, and taking possession of the wall, ordered the trumpeter to sound. Thereupon the other guards suddenly started to their feet and fled, before any had noted what number had ascended. For their panic and the trumpet call led them to imagine that the enemy had mounted in force. Caesar, hearing the signal, promptly called the forces to arms, and with the generals and his body of picked men, was the first to mount. The Jews had fled to the temple, into which the Romans also were penetrating through the mine excavated by John to reach their earthworks. The rebels of both factions, those of Yochanan and Shimon, drawn up in separate divisions, sought to stem their advance with a prodigious exhibition of strength and spirit. For they held that the entry of the Romans into the sanctuary meant final capture, while the latter regarded as the prelude to victory. So the enemies clashed in desperate struggle round the entrances. The Romans pressing on to take possession also of the temple. The Jews thrusting them back upon Antonia. Missiles and spears were useless to both belligerents. Drawing their swords, they closed with each other in the middle. It was impossible to tell on which side either party was fighting, the men being all jumbled together and intermingled in the confined area, and their shouts, owing to the terrific din, falling confusedly on the ear. There was great slaughter on either side, and the bodies and armor of the fallen were trampled down and crushed by the combatants. And always, in whichever direction rolled the veering tide of war, were heard the cheers of the victors, the wailings of the routed. Room for flight or pursuit there was none. Dubious turns of the scale and shifting of position were the sole incidents in the confused contest. Those in front had either to kill or be killed, there being no retreat. For those in rear in either army pressed their comrades forward, leaving no intervening space between the combatants. At length, Jewish fury prevailing over Roman skill, the whole line began to waver, for they had been fighting from the 9th hour of the night until the 7th of the day. The Jews in full strength with the peril of capture as an incentive to gallantry. The Romans with but a portion of their forces, the legions upon which the present combatants were depending, having not yet come up. It was therefore considered sufficient for the present to hold Antonia. This is going to be the Romans holding Antonia. We're going to skip down a couple of paragraphs and go to, let me see, we're going to go to 91 to 80, paragraph 80. Past that, paragraph 82. Okay, so here we're going to have a very brave Roman jumps down from the Antonia, and let's follow this closely. This is going to be paragraph 82. I know it started in 81, but one Julianus, a centurion of the Bithynian contingent, a man of some mark and distinguished above all, whose acquaintance I made during that war in the science of arms, strength of body, and intrepidity of soul, seeing the Romans beginning to give way and offering but a sorry resistance, sprang forward. He had been standing beside Titus on Antonia, and single-handed drove back the Jews, already victorious, to the corner of the inner temple. Now I want to show you something. This is the layout according to Martin. So basically he's saying that this is, I don't know if I can do this. David, can you somewhat get it close enough for me here? This being the Antonia that where Titus was located. He jumps down. The Romans are retreating back from the temple, and he fights all the way to the inner courtyard of the temple. That's a third of a mile from here to here, from the Antonia to the temple. What's being described here is something that is in very close quarters, not over a period of a third of a mile. Okay, so we're going to go forward from that. And let's see, we're going to go down to paragraph 86, and where it says, a cry of concern for the hero went up for the Romans in Antonia, while the Jews crowding around him struck him at him from all sides with spears and swords. Many a weapon he parried with his buckler. Many a time he tried to rise, but there was thrown back by the number of his assailants, and prostrate though he was, many a one did he stab with his sword. And then it goes forward. This man is slain. All right, so we're going to drop down to paragraph 91. The Jews, after snatching up the body, again routed the Romans and shut them up in Antonia. We're going to go now to paragraph 93. Titus now ordered the troops that were with him. Okay, now this is important. To raise the foundations of Antonia and to prepare an easy ascent for the whole army. Then, having learnt that on that day it was the 17th of Pentemus, the so-called continual sacrifice had for lack of men ceased to be offered to God, and that the people were in consequence terribly despondent, he put Josephus forward with instructions to repeat to Yochanan the same message as before, namely, that he was obsessed by a criminal possession for battle. He was at liberty to come out with as many as he chose and fight without involving the city and the sanctuary in his own ruin. And then it goes forward. All right. So I want to read what Martin says. Then we're going to look at pictures. We're going to see if this is possible. What we're told in Josephus is that they've captured the Antonia. The Antonia already has a weakened foundations. The Jews had tunneled underneath, and the foundations are very, very weak. So he commands that the walls be broken down so that his troops can use this to march in formation in a formation attack against the northern wall of the temple. Okay? So let me go to the quote. So this is going to be in the temples that Jerusalem forgot. It's going to be in the chapter 2, the Roman fortress at Jerusalem. And this is going to be on the second page of that chapter. Excuse me, not the second page, but the fourth page. Yeah, it says, note how Winston, I'm going to start here where it says, Fort Antonia remained a fortress in Jerusalem. The Romans at the beginning of the war had as one of their chief objectives the overthrow of Fort Antonia, which had been taken by the Jewish rebels. When the Jewish insurgents had control of Antonia, Titus thought it best to demolish the fortress. But as it turns out, Titus only had to dismantle the foundations of part of the northern wall in order to gain entrance into the fortress. He did not raise it to the ground or flatten the whole fortress. Indeed, it would have been a monumental task to tear down all the Haram walls. Note how Winston's translated Josephus' description of the destruction of part of Antonia's wall. He added the word some to his translation and for a reason. The Roman army had in 7 days' time overthrown some of the foundations of the Tower Antonia. Now, I can read that to you. Give me a second. All right, this is what it says in the Winston translation. So he said, the soldiers about their work at the hour before mentioned, while he went out himself to a high place where, let's see. I'm not finding what I'm looking for. Okay. What I want to show you, first off, they're going to claim that only the north wall of the Antonia was taken down. Now, the north wall is going to be this wall right here. This is the north wall. Okay, so this is the northern side of the temple. Now, what I submit is that we have the Fortress Antonia is going to have a keep up here on top of it. Okay, that's this part. It is a higher location. It is like you have, you still have your towers on the corners. Okay, you have your 4 towers, one of them 70 cubits high. But the keep is going to be, you have a fortress, and let's say that the fortress, that the lower fortress falls, you retreat to the keep. You go to the keep, and the keep is the higher place. If you've seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy, you have the second one. What's the name of the second one, David? The Two Towers, okay? And you have all of these attackers are coming, and they blow up a part of the wall of the fortress, and so the king calls all the men back to the keep, okay? And so the keep is that inner fortress area, and that's what I believe that this particular area is. It was the strongest part of the fortification. It was on the highest part of the hill. So now we're going to look at pictures. Now, I've got a lot of pictures, and a lot of these pictures are going to be repeats. So where we're looking at, I'm going to walk back and forth, and I apologize for this. Where we're looking, this is the western wall at the extreme northwestern corner, like this, okay? And so this wall here is going to be the northern wall. Now, David, if you'll switch to me, by the way, this is the location of where the Wak has their office. I've been arrested and taken in there by the temple guards before, so I know the location well. But this is going to be the wall. You can see, look at this bedrock here. See the stone that they have laid is above here. All of this is been quarried away. So if we can switch over to the map, David, that would be this area right here. We're looking at right where I'm pointing, right here. And so what you're seeing is a wall, and we're still going to be, along this map, we're right here, right at this location. Okay? Now notice how, if I'm correct that this is the keep, so we have two cisterns here, and there's a third, smaller cistern right here. And then we're going to have three cisterns, one here, and one here. Now I'm going to show you these cisterns. I'm going to show you these cisterns in just a moment, what they look like from the outside today. And we're going to go through a lot of these pictures. I want to show you the entire area of the Antonia. Okay, so this is moving down that wall. We have just moved a little bit. We're on the northern wall right here. And we're coming, like here is the western wall. Here's the northern wall. We had our first picture was here. Now we're here. So we're moving further and further down, going towards the east. And you'll see that there's been a lot of repair work. This has been very damaged over the years. They had structures that were built here. But we're going to see some of these are going to actually date back to the time of the temple. So let's go to our next picture. All right, now this picture is going to be located on the western wall. And why I took this picture, I'm going to show you where it is on the map. But here we're starting to see where they have shaved the stone. See that? This is where the start of Antonia Hill is coming up. Let's look at that on this map here. So basically, that's going to be right along here. And it's where the elevation is just starting to go up. And it's going to start climbing from that point. Now, I don't know how well you can see this map. How does it look, David? Basically what we see over there, but there are some notes in here. This is the northern edge of the Muslim platform, okay? So up here, here's your fosse. It says, this is what Warren wrote, excavated ditch. And so they went into this and they sank a trench and they excavated it. And here you see your cisterns. Here's your little cisterns here. There's three right here that we're going to see. Okay? Now I'm going to show you some original photographs that I took. All right, here we're continuing along the northern wall, and we're looking. Now remember that we're going to have on the other side of this is still going to be Antonia. So basically, what I believe this is that this was a courtyard that was. You had the keep, and then you had a courtyard, and you had a portico going around it. We're going to see evidence of that portico as we go through. So what we're watching for, and they're very hard to spot, but I'll show you one, right here. Can you zoom in on that if I move back here? There's a little square. All right, now that square, that was where they had a post or they had a stone peg put in to support a portico. And so this would not be the portico of the temple, but rather the portico of a courtyard within the Antonia. Okay, so let's go to another picture. Now this is a model that was built by Conrad Schick. Now here is the northern wall of the temple. Now this was built in the 1880s, 1890s, and the architecture has a very German influence. He was a German-Swiss architect. But see the northern wall of the temple, and here, look, here's exactly, you can see the, here's the Antonia penetrating down into the temple area. Now, what is this here? This is he has it porticoed off, but that would be the area. Let's go over here. That would be this area right out here. In this one, it would be this area right out here, which I believe was where they their parade ground. It's where that they trained when there wasn't war going on. It's where that they would have formations. It's kind of like if you picture West Point and how you see the soldiers out all marching and drill, and they're all going through, you know, each regiment, each battalion or whatever is marching in order and so forth. And that's where they did it. That was something that the Romans were very famous for. Now, this was not originally a Roman fortress. It was a Jewish fortress. But we have a description of the Jews watching from the north wall of the temple, watching a parade of the Romans while this battle, they're already under siege. They're not fighting, but they're under siege. But Titus wanted to do an intimidation. So he had all of his troops put on their full war regalia. They are going to march in formation for the receiving of their pay. And it took several days in order to pay them all. But he wanted to impress them with that strength. From here, they would be able to view it. Where else are they going to be able to view this? It only works from this location. Okay? So let's go to the next picture. So this is a model that we can see the Antonia penetrating down into the Temple Mount. This is a drawing again by Charles Ward. And here here's our northern wall of the Muslim platform. And so this would be the northern wall basically of the inner courtyard. It's going to follow this northern line of the Muslim platform. But what we want to look at now, here is our area. It says the ditch, and this is going to be the north bank right here of the ditch. Okay, so the moat. Let's talk about a moat. Will it help you? What's the purpose of a moat? The purpose of the moat is for the enemy to not have access to your buildings. So you want your buildings are going to be right up next to the moat. Otherwise, if the enemy is able to fill in the moat, then they will be able to pull their war instruments and get right next to your building, bring up battering rams and all kinds of equipment in order to destroy it. Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. Now, this looks like a bunch of olive trees. So here's what I want you to picture. I was standing on the sidewalk right at the back. I'm at the north wall. And I'm taking a picture looking to the south. Now, all of this area, it's a massive area, is where the Antonia would have been. This is, in fact, we have pictures from the 1800s that all of this, you could see the bare rock. You could see paving stones and bedrock. The Muslims came in and they filled all this in with dirt, covering up that bedrock, planted olive trees on it, and you have an olive grove probably with 200 olive trees growing in this area. And so let's look at another picture. This is going to be the same thing. There's a Muslim prayer platform. And here you're the other side of the platform. Now you can see off in the distance a dome. And I'm going to guess that is the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock back before they renovated it. This would be back in the 1990s that I took these pictures. Okay, we'll go through another one. Now this, I'm not sure why this picture showed up here, but I want to go ahead and show this, that it's in here. This is not anything to do with the Antonia. This is what we call the Broad Wall. It's part of the second wall. This is from the 8th century BCE. It was built by King Hezekiah. It's referred to in Isaiah chapter 22. And it mentions that he incorporated the houses into the structure of the walls. Then he shattered the houses, and then he built the wall right over these houses, and he incorporated those. There are houses. Here is a house right here. It goes this way. There's another one here. Those houses have been dated to the 10th century. 10th century is the time of Solomon. They had expanded to the western hill. Why'd they expand? Well, they had a population explosion. They had thousands, literally thousands of workers come in order to build the temple. Well, they had to have places to eat. So that you have new businesses that are starting up. They have inns all over the place. They have a whole industry starting up because they have to supply fertilizer, not fertilizer, but they have to supply feed for all of the animals, which will produce a lot of fertilizer. And but you've got the whole city has expanded because of that. All right, so we're going to go on to another picture here. All right. At this point, I'm probably 20 yards from the northwestern corner. So I'm going to give you an idea of where I'm standing by going to the map over here. I'm standing approximately right here. Okay? And it will be approximately right here. Okay? Now, what I'm going to be looking at is number 16 on this map. That is a cistern right there. See, there's a cistern here, number 16. Then we have number 46 here, and we have number 15. Let's see. 16 is going to be a part of this. These are interconnected. It doesn't look like that in this map, but I'll show it to you. But there is going to be a wellhead for number 16. So 16 is right here coming down in these kidney-shaped things. It's going to have 3 wellheads, okay? So this is that, that northern wellhead right here. We'll show you some more pictures of this. Right there, you can see it at a distance. And you can see I'm quite a ways from the northwestern corner. And here, there's a lady, a Muslim lady and a child at the wellhead. I don't know if she's getting some water at this point. But you see these people in the background? Way back over here. Now, see how far away they are? They still would be in the Fortress Antonia. Now, we could put between where I'm standing taking this picture, we could put several hundred people, easy. And I still have 25, 30 yards behind me. And then we have the keep, okay? And we're here at the western wall. We could go forward the other side as big as what we have here. So what we're talking about is a huge fortress of immense proportions. All right, now here, I'm standing in the fosse, taking this picture. You see the sidewalk here? That sidewalk is part of the fosse. Now look, here's a water fountain. And this water fountain, I'm going to show you on the map where that water fountain is. They're still drinking from that same cistern. I wouldn't drink that water, okay? You think about it. But it's over number 15. And so they pump the water up out of the cistern, and that's what they have for their fresh drinking water on the Temple Mount. But here, I'm standing right here taking this picture of the southern edge. Now look in the picture. way back over here. You can't see it because the building's in the way, but that's where that lady was with the child. Look at how far back. You see this minaret? That minaret is at the northwestern corner. Now, you would still have more of the Antonia past that, and even quite a bit, because we're going to go all the way to the Struthian Pool. And so, all the way across here where you see these Muslims walking here, all of that, they're going to be in the middle of the courtyard of the Antonia. They're not at the edge. And so, massive structure, gigantic. Here's the wellhead again, standing real close to it. Let's go back. You can see the people back over here, if you see where my cursor is. There, it's going to be down past this where the water fountains are. All right, I'm standing in the fosse, and this is, I took those pictures of all the olive trees from the other side. I'm standing in the fosse. So everything that you see from this point going back will be part of the Fortress Antonia. And so, it's not this little bitty fortress. It is this massive, gigantic thing that you could house a legion very easily, 2 legions if you needed to. It has plenty of room. It can meet the descriptions of Josephus accurately. Now, basically, what we're told is that Titus tore this thing down, at least everything but, we believe, the eastern tower. The eastern tower, that's the 70-cubit high one, because he's going to retain that tower in order to observe the battle as it's taking place. Following the fall of the temple, he has the rest of the Antonia totally destroyed, which we will be able to see in Josephus. In fact, I read these last week. Okay? So let's go through some more pictures. There you go. There's another one. And by the way, I just moved over a little bit to the east in order to take this picture to give you perspective on how big the Antonia was. Look at that. Now, this is about where we believe the Antonia would have come to, and I'm taking a picture of what the depth of the fortress would be. Again, another picture. You can see the minaret. And, all right, we're going to go back to the northern wall. Let's take a look along here and see if we can spot any of the portico holes. One to the left over here? Right here. No. That is, I don't know who did it, but it probably was for a later period that they had some kind of idol set up there. They had something that was set up there, but it would be for a portico. It might be from the period of the Antonia. And the Romans they would put niches in the wall in order to place various images and so forth. Okay? So, that I'd have to have an archaeologist look at and be able to determine if it's from that period or not. Let's see. The trees make it a little bit difficult to spot these. And the guards would not let us walk right up to the wall, which I would have done. You can see the niche again. We're just moving a little bit over. I wanted to take where we would get every rock photographed so that we could study it in detail. And again, we're moving over a little bit further. There is a possibility of one right here, but I'm not sure. We have found, I think, 3 total in the wall. Dan Bahat had sketched these back in 1969, 2 years after the 6-Day War. and he was able to get up there and to go through, and I'm going to go through his drawings. I have his drawings. This might be one, but I can't tell. That possibly is a light. You can see, by the way, this will give you an idea of the size of what we're looking at here. We'll go through these kind of quickly. This is a model. I don't know who did this model, but it's at the Palestine Exploration Fund. And you can see the Antonia over here penetrating all the way into the Temple Mount, coming right up to the northern portico of the temple. And they basically have it drawn the way that I have it, with the western portico coming to the western side, the northern portico coming to the eastern side, and the temple before it. This is a model in the Western Wall Tunnel. And here is the Fortress Antonia in the Western Wall Tunnel. And again, here's the Birkat Israel, the Pool of Israel. Here's the Strathian Pool right here. So they have this on an angle. And here's the temple. Again, it's incorrect to say that everyone places it to be that very small structure. That's misleading. That is a half-truth. There are 2 or 3 scholars that placed it. There you can see the model with it penetrating into. And here another picture, and another picture, and another picture, and another picture. Okay, so we'll keep on. There, you kind of get a good view. This is the Antonia. This would have been their parade ground. See how they have it extended out? Here's the northern wall of the present Temple Mount. They have it extended out. And then it comes down, and here's your northern portico of the temple. They didn't have room. They didn't put the fosse in. So there's going to be a gap between them, but not much. Okay, here's another picture of the northern wall. All right, here is an original by Charles Warren. Now, this is not published, but here you can see the cisterns that we were looking at. He has the different elevations coming in. He gives you your scale 1 to 500 over here. And we're going to go through several of these. There's a stairway you can see in here of how they went down into this. By the way, David Jacobson, as well as David Jacobson and Shimon Gibson, have dated this particular cistern to the Hasmonean era based upon cisterns known to be Hasmonean located at Mersha. There are 2 of these cisterns on the Temple Mount. Here we're able to see down where the water fountain is. Let's see if we can read some of his notes. Here he has a plan showing position of tank number 22. This is going to be in the Warren numbering system. There are 2 numbering systems. One is the Warren one at Warren's and one is Schick's, of tank number 22 at northwest corner of Haram area. Okay, and Bab al-Nazir, this is the Nazir Gate up on the Temple Mount. That is the name of a Muslim gate. Here, this is going to be over below where the Birkat Israel. It possibly is going to be from a later time. Here you're able to see another detail. I wanted to show you these just for the thrill of it, to be able to see Warren's original work and with his handwritten notes on them. That's really exciting. Let me see if I can flip this picture for us. Well, I thought I did. Huh. Okay, there we go. And we're going to take a break in just a moment. Is this the end or a break? This is the end. Okay. Can I have one more minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm just going to run through some of these other pictures here. These are all show you some of the detail. These are all warm pictures. Now this is the model by Conrad Schick. This is a picture of it that hangs in the building where the model is. A lot of pictures that I took of it. But you can see the Antonia coming down. Here you can see Antonia Hill right here. Here is the Temple Mount. This is where the Holy of Holies sat. Here is Schick's model. This is the Struthian Pool. These are steps going down to the Struthian Pool. And let's see where northern corner of the Temple Mount. Look. See that? There's one of those holes. Very plain. You can see it.
I think you were right when you mentioned you weren't sure if that was a light, and I think one of those was
One of the holes, yeah. Okay, we're going to go through a little bit more. I got lots of pictures of all this area, but it's exciting. That's all of them. It's exciting to be able to see them, and you get a perspective of the size. I'm sorry for having to read all the text, but the only way that we get down to what he says is to go through all the text, everything he says on the Antonia, and then we can understand what's happening. We'll stop here. Thank you for allowing me to teach. I really have enjoyed it. I needed to do this. Thank y'all. Shalom.